So I present Sir Herman, Dr. Professor Klein.
Well, this isn't an original presentation. This is what we call in TV circles an encore.
An encore
Presentation.
Be the director's cut.
Director's cut. And so it will be essentially what I delivered on May 15th, but with some liberties taken with all that has happened in the past 10 days.
You've obviously added a few paragraphs.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. Many years ago, 68 in fact, I sat in your shoes at a similar ceremony. But my shoes were several miles away at the original campus site. The original campus is now called the Draper campus. And it's the birthplace of SUNY Albany. Its name at the time was the New York State College for Teachers. And we referred to it as State College. And the occasion was the induction to Signum Laudis. There was no Phi Beta Kappa at Teachers College at that time. Today I shall tell you, as I was requested, about my experience as a student at State and the career that followed. To do so, I shall relate the story of a journey that began 49 years ago. I was born in Brooklyn. My parents had settled there after they had married in 1917. In 1912, they had come to the States as teenagers from a fiddler on the roof type of rural community, which was in the Ukraine. Before marrying, my mother was a seamstress of bridal gowns, earning considerably more than my father. He preferred the outdoors life. He was a window cleaner. They lived in a fourth floor walk-up apartment in a typical tenement, although it wasn't quite typical in that it had a bathroom. At the time, there was usually one bathroom per floor, in which there were 4 to 6 apartments. They had 3 children, my brother the oldest, I was 2 years younger, and a sister who was 5 years younger than I. We remained in Brooklyn during my first 9 years. There I started school at PS 50. I only spoke Yiddish at the time, and interestingly, I do not recall any stress related to the shifting to the use of the English language. My parents continued to speak Yiddish to the children the rest of their lives, and the children spoke English to them. I left school from the beginning. I was attracted by the gold stars that they offered and presented for good work, and I collected a lot of gold stars. And I was skipping grades, as was a practice in New York City. We relocated to Hempstead, Long Island in 1929, just before the Depression began. School was my focus there as well. And in high school, each year I won the class prize, which consisted of $10 prize and graduated as valedictorian. My Regents average was 97%. The question was, in 1937, when I graduated, what do I do next? There was no guidance or counseling available at high school. There wasn't any available at home. I was on my own. But it was assumed, without any discussion, that all the children would go to college. I decided that teaching would make sense. And the question is why. I had a distant cousin who was a French teacher in New York City school system, and he went to France every summer. So I thought, what could be more appealing? And somewhere, I don't remember where, I had heard that there existed in Albany a school called New York State College for Teachers, and it was reputed to be the best in the United States. So I applied and went off to state to become a French teacher. My initial experience was not felicitous. I had never been away from home or my family, even for one day, and homesickness struck me hard and quickly. Within a week, I had packed and was out, had arranged to ship my belongings back to Hempstead. Got on the train and was met by my mother and brother at the train station. There we talked, and I calmed down, and I was persuaded to return to Albany with the understanding that at Thanksgiving time, if I still wanted to return home, I would do so at that time. At Albany, I literally grew up. I grew 7 inches in the 4 years. My voice had changed, and I became part of a community through Kappa Beta, which had just started up as a fraternity. State was a refuge from a world that was in the throes of the Great Depression and the growing stirrings of war in Europe and Asia. And I thought it would be interesting to look back at the news as reported in the New York Times from early September 1937 and graduation day in 1941.
Papers from 1941.
In September of 1937, the front page of the New York Times reported